Forget the clean, standardized war you see in documentaries. Italy was mud in the feed trays, rain in the ammo pouches, and night fighting where you couldn't tell if you were walking into a vineyard or a machine gun lane. Ordnance manuals wanted uniformity, the right cartridge, the right belt, the right fuse, untouched. The front wanted something else. Visibility, reliability, a faster kill inside a stone building. So men bent the rules with tools, tape, wax, and nerve. These are the 7 hidden WW2 ammo mods in the Italian campaign. Number 7. Mixed tracer, ball patterns in MG belts. The helpful glow that could burn your gun out. U.S. Army Ordnance technical manuals treated belting as a controlled process. Correct links, correct spacing, and tracer used in prescribed proportions, because tracers ran hotter and could accelerate barrel wear. The idea was simple. Don't improvise your belt like it's a signal flare chain. In Italy and Sicily, though, gunners wanted feedback. In low light, ball ammunition vanishes. So crews broke belts and rebuilt them, sometimes one tracer every 4, sometimes tighter near the end of the belt as a warning the run was almost done. Men in divisions like the U.S. 34th Infantry Division in 1943 had reason to do it. If you can see strike, you can walk fire onto a window, a hedgerow gap, a ridgeline. It sometimes paid off in night engagements, especially when a team had to correct fire without a clear view of impacts. But there was a cost. Tracer-heavy strings could heat barrels faster, and in sustained bursts you could get accelerated throat erosion, stoppages, and occasional misfires, exactly the problems the manuals were trying to prevent. Number 6. Shotgun shell improvisation for urban raids. The homemade load that cleared rooms until it didn't. Official ordnance practice didn't recognize custom combat shot shells. Loads were standardized for safety, pressure, and function across lots and climates. If you started cutting wads, swapping shot sizes, or crimping by hand, you were outside the system, and if something went wrong, nobody could trace it or certify it. In places like Ortona in December 1943, street fighting pushed men toward close-range certainty. Troops including elements operating alongside Canada's 1st Infantry Division used shotguns for doorways and stairwells, then tried to tune the pattern. Some tightened spread by altering buckshot loads, changing wads, or re-crimping shells so more pellets stayed together longer before fanning out. The goal wasn't drama. It was a predictable hit on a man-shaped target at across a room distance. When it worked, it made fast entries cleaner and reduced the need to hose walls with rifle fire. When it was done badly, the risk was immediate: deformed shells that failed to chamber, poor crimps that spilled shot, and jams at the worst possible time mid-raid, in a stone corridor, with no space to clear the action. Number 5. Repacked captured calibers. Feeding your gun with enemy logistics. Allied supply rules were blunt for a reason. Don't mix calibers, don't trust unknown lots, and don't introduce ammunition of questionable origin into controlled distribution. Captured German 7.92 x 57 mm could be inventoried for intelligence, but issuing it forward or trying to adapt it invited accidents and confusion. But late 1944 in Italy, shortages and distance did what orders couldn't. In forward areas around Monte Cassino and beyond, partisans and some frontline soldiers tried to make use of what they could actually carry. That meant captured rounds, broken down and repacked, or fired in weapons already chambered for 7.92 MG34s, MG42s, and captured Mausers that turned up behind the lines. In rarer, riskier cases, men attempted crude conversions, reworking cartridges to fit different chambers, or using questionable rounds in worn weapons because there was nothing else. It could keep a position shooting for another hour, and that sometimes mattered more than doctrine. But failures were real. Split cases, hard extraction, and damaged chambers from improper fit or unknown pressures. One free box of ammo could cost you a gun or a hand. Number 4. Fragment marriage with hand grenades. More shrapnel, less control. Grenades came with explicit warnings. Don't modify the body, don't add materials, don't compromise the fuse. Safety distances and expected fragmentation were calculated around the issued design. Change the grenade, and you change everything, often in ways you can't predict. In Italy, men still did it. The logic was cold and practical. Trenches, slit trenches, and shallow scrapes could swallow a normal blast. So soldiers wired or taped extra metal to grenades, nuts, bolts, scrap, sometimes pre-cut fragments, trying to increase lethal splintering in confined spaces. Around Faenza in 1944, units in Britain's 78th Battle-Axe Division were among those reported using modified grenades during trench clearing work, where a few extra fragments could decide whether a dug-in defender stayed in the fight. Sometimes it delivered exactly what was intended. A tighter position emptied faster, fewer follow-up throws, less exposure at the lip of a trench. But the downside was brutal. Added mass and irregular shapes changed throw distance and blast pattern. And unpredictable fragmentation sometimes came back toward friendly troops, plus the ever-present risk of fuse mishandling when you're building explosives with cold hands. Before we move on, if you were a platoon leader in Italy, which rule would you break first? Tracer ratios, ammo standardization, or grenade safety warnings? Tell us your pick below. And subscribe if you want the non-myth version. Next comes fuses, waterproofing, and sabotage. Number 3. Airburst fuse adjustments. A few turns meant a clean kill or a dead crew. Fuses weren't supposed to be a soldier's playground. Time fuses in superquick settings came with tables, setter devices, and clear instructions. Use the correct fuse for the mission, set it with approved tools, and keep your hands off improvised shortcuts. A bad setting didn't just waste rounds. It could bring fragments back onto your own line. Italy punished the textbook. In mountains and stone towns, a round that burst on impact often threw its energy into rock. So crews chased airburst detonations just above a terrace, just over a wall, just inside a courtyard. When proper setters weren't handy, men used whatever gave leverage. Coins, knife tips, pliers, even the edge of a can opener. Some nudged settings off the safe, conservative times to get a burst lower and sooner, especially in low-angle firing where a few tenths of a second mattered. When it landed right, airburst stripped cover and forced defenders out without flattening the building you needed to enter. When it went wrong, it was instant chaos. Premature bursts near the muzzle, rounds detonating short, and fragments scything back toward the gun line. That's the price of close enough math under pressure. Number 2. Waterproofing ammunition hacks. Keeping powder dry by breaking the rules of packaging. Official packaging was meant to solve weather, not tempt improvisation. Cartridges came in sealed tins, waxed cartons, and bandoliers. Small arms ammo was expected to function after exposure that would soak clothing and rot leather. The doctrine answer to rain was discipline. Keep containers closed, rotate stock, don't contaminate primers with oils. Then came Italy's wet season, river crossings, and days where everything lived in mud. Men started sealing rounds the way they sealed anything else. Clips and loose cartridges went into condoms, cut inner tubes, or waxed paper and tape. Some brushed on candle wax or grease at the case mouth and primer crude. Sealant, meant to keep water from creeping in during a wade or a night in a flooded foxhole. Others wrapped bandoliers in poncho scraps, then tied the whole bundle with commo wire so it didn't burst open during a scramble. It saved fights. Dry ammo after a crossing meant rifles that actually fired on contact. But it also created new failures. Oily rounds that slipped in magazines, wax that picked up grit, and primers contaminated by the very substances meant to protect them, leading to hangfires you couldn't diagnose until you'd already pulled the trigger. Number 1. Booby-trapped ammunition for sabotage. The round that looked normal until it killed the wrong man. Booby traps weren't a free-for-all in Allied doctrine. Formal guidance emphasized marking hazards, controlling captured material, and avoiding anything that blurred the line between munitions and safe objects. In practice, sabotage devices existed, but they were supposed to be handled by trained personnel, not passed around like fieldcraft. Italy's front and its partisan war made that boundary thin. Trap ammunition could be left in a box that looked like a lucky find. Methods varied. A cartridge altered to spike pressure, a primer tampered to ignite unpredictably, or a round rigged so the act of loading set off a detonation. The point was simple. A man trusts ammunition the way he trusts gravity. Break that trust, and the weapon becomes a liability. It could work, A booby-trapped cache could disable a gun and remove a user without firing a shot from your side. But it also backfired. Captured stocks change hands, labels get lost, and nervous soldiers scavenge. So tell me, would you ever risk planting sabotaged ammo if there was any chance your own people might pick it up later? Across Italy, the manuals offered clean categories: safe or unsafe, issued or forbidden, correct or incorrect. The front lived in gradients. A man didn't modify history. He modified a cartridge, a fuse, a pouch, because the next minute demanded it. Sometimes the hack kept you alive. Sometimes it just moved the danger closer. If you want World War II history without simplification or mythology, subscribe. We'll keep following the material reality: what was issued, what was altered, and what it cost.